Archbishop, what would you say to those who are survivors of the alleged abuse of Robert Waddington?
I've already written to them, and the ones living in this country, I have actually seen them and had a conversation. And I just want to repeat again what I've said to them in my letter and in my conversation with them, that I'm deeply ashamed that the church had this systemic failure to protect and safeguard children. And that's great shame. And I've also said to them that the church as a whole, not just what Waddington did, as a whole, needs to have this deep, deep repentance that we should have been actually protecting them and guarding them and safeguarding them. And we failed them because they're loved. And so deep shame, deep sorrow, deep apology. And in our conversations, it was quite moving in the sense that they were able to say what they wanted to say. And I take my heart for them, really, because they did something which, coming with fear and trembling probably, speaking to yet another clergy person, but giving them an opportunity. So for really Ian, John, and Eli, all I can say, sorry, really deep, deep sorrow. And let us continue to work together so that we can improve and change the culture so that there isn't this systemic failure.
You've talked about the culture and changing the culture of the church. What would your response be to the main findings of the report that you commissioned?
I think what really stands out all the time, really, that there was systemic failure, and that sadly the people who had the responsibility to implement the policies were neither qualified to do it or trained to do it. And so the judge says, even the later policies which came into being, which we've got now, had they been there in existence at the same time with the same people, the same systemic failure would have still arisen. So the Church of England has got really up its game, that is not just good enough to have policies, but make sure that really people are trained in safeguarding and monitored consistently. When I was appointed, no, nobody gave you any other than the bits you picked up yourself. So DIY can't actually survive anymore. We've really got to work hard, and already things are in place, but I'm afraid because the people were not trained in safeguarding, because the people actually, regardless of the policies, failure would have arisen, really.
You've talked about the changes that have happened recently. What confidence have you got? How confident are you that 10 years on, the Church of England's in a better place than it was?
The amazing thing is that some of what Judge Sally Cahill and her team have recommended, some of those have been already anticipated because of the Chichester report. So some things have already been put in, but she's sharpened the question. She's really sharpened the questions, and we've got to take the sharpness of our recommendations and make sure we don't say, well, we've anticipated this, so it must be okay. No, no, no. We've got to ensure that those 8 have this living reality of them being put into practice, because to me that's going to be the most important thing. So what has changed? Well, the fact that now we're going to get a national safeguarding officer, the fact that there will be everybody who is in positions of authority must have due regard to the policies and the guidance, which is not just, oh, go and do it the way you want to do it. And again, the other wonderful thing, that this is going to be absolutely monitored nationally, locally, diocesan-wise. And there will always be a reference back to the National Safeguarding Officer. So for me, I think that's the change. We've got the things in place. What the culture needs to change, seems to me, and it's really in the nation. In fact, the whole nation in the last 10 years has been shaken up to realize that actually the whole question of safeguarding can no longer, the sort of thing to say, well, Sentamu happened to be a good man, surely he can't do that. It couldn't have been. That kind of talk has got to stop. And clearly saying, if an allegation has been made, it's going to be dealt with very robustly and very quickly and very fast.